हेलो। गुड आफ्टरनून जी, गुड आफ्टरनून, कैसे हो? गुड गुड गुड। आई हैव ऑलरेडी ज्वाइंड, आई हैव अनम्यूटेड माई सेल्फ। ओके ओके, ठीक ठीक, ओके। एक्लेट के ना मून में कार खत्म में क्या मिशन बक्या छो अच्छा मिशन ये तो और सबसे बड़ी बात है हमने किया ही नहीं। मुझे तो एक टाइम तक वो गमले खरीदने थे, उसमें जो गुस्सा आ गया हमारे ऊपर कुछ हो रहा है, तो हम इसमें जगह भी करनी पड़ती है ज्यादा ही। तुम्हें लग रहा है ये बिल्कुल बैठ वो भी कोविड कोविड में उनको चिट्ठी है, वो आएंगे और हमारे लिए साइन करेंगे।
Dr. Rakesha, sir, I'm just waiting for participants to join in. Okay,
Okay,
it may
no issues.
take
No issues.
few minutes. So
No
after
problem.
that, I will start.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Hello. 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 Yes, sir. Very warm good afternoon to everyone. I, Dr. Ummer Rashid, on behalf of worthy principal, Professor Manzoor Ahmed Loan, Principal Government Degree College, Anantnag, warmly welcome you all for this webinar. As you know, we are facing unprecedented conditions in the form of COVID-19. And our colleges, universities are off, but we are continuing our education through online mode. In this regard, we have taken, our education institutions have taken different steps to have aware youngsters about different initiatives. Today, this webinar, which we have selected, and the title of webinar is Inculcating Scientific Temper and Innovation Among Young Minds. And we are going to discuss different challenges which are faced by youngsters. As you know, India has emerged as a knowledge power and has emerged as a scientific power in the 21st century. We have achieved greatly in different scientific fields, but yet we have to work hard to develop human resource in right direction. It has been said that in next 30 years, our human resource will be needed for new emerging issues. And for that purpose, India needs to develop young minds in a way that it is received well by the industry. In this perspective, innovation and scientific temper is important. Young budding scientists, when I am talking about scientific temper and scientific education, these are two different fields. Scientific education is simply, giving literacy about science, but scientific temper is how to inculcate scientific innovation, how to apply science in day-to-day life. So in next 2 hours, we have with us experts who will explain you how important it is, how important innovation and scientific temper is for overall or inclusive development. So we have two experts. One is from Mata Vaishno Devi University, Professor Rakesh Thasu, who is basically associate professor in the Department of Biotechnology. And then we have another assistant professor, Professor Muzaffar Jan. They have all achieved greatly in scientific fields, and they were just like you young ones. And then they started their journey towards science. So they will explain different ways how you can be motivated towards science. So I, on behalf of our worthy principal, welcome you all. And now for inaugural address, I will invite our worthy head department of zoology, Professor Syed Javed Hussain, for his welcome address. Please welcome Syed Javed Hussain.
Good afternoon to all the participants and also the young scientists who are participating in this webinar. Good afternoon to all of you. It is my immense pleasure to welcome you all for this Inculcating Scientific Temper and Innovation Among Young Minds Major Challenges. This is the topic on which our experts will discuss at length. Organized by Department of Zoology, Government Degree College, Anantnag. I am highly thankful to our patron, Professor Dr. Manzoor Ahmed Loan Sahab, Principal, GDC Anantnag, for his constant support and encouragement for the conduct of this webinar. I appreciate the efforts made by young faculty members of the department for conduct of this webinar to highlight the importance of scientific temper and innovations among youths. Well, as far as this webinar is concerned, we have selected the topic scientific temper and innovation among youths. In order to acquaint youth about the importance of the science, as you are aware that we are living in the age of science and technology and its development of the present India. The science has radically changed man's material and non-material development. It has become an integral part of human life, without which no individual can live comfortably. Scientifically literate individuals make informed decisions within the science and technological context by drawing their rich knowledge, such as understanding of concepts and principles, theories and processes of science. Science and technology, therefore, has fostered a new intellectual temper known as scientific temper among the scientists, among the youth will also develop. Our education system teaches us that science is a collection of facts that have been proclaimed by scientists. In reality, it is a systemized method of investigating the material world through observation, experimentation, hypothesis, and verification. Science assumes that all phenomena are natural rather than supernatural, that these operate by rules that humans have the ability to uncover. More and more areas of knowledge traditionally deemed not knowable have yielded their secrets to the matter of science. Scientific temper is about applying similar methods of questioning and of rational inquiry in our everyday life. That is day-to-day life. For the overall development and growth of the country and society, it is necessary to develop scientific temper and innovation among all people, irrespective of their age, caste, creed, and religion. Therefore, I open this seminar for our budding scientists and also the experts, like one of the experts is Dr. Rakesh Sahab, and who is one of our experts, and other expert is Muzaffar Jan Sahab, and these have, it is our immense pleasure that they accepted our request, and we thank them for this webinar to joining this webinar. Thank you very much. Thank you and good luck for the success of this webinar to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, worthy Head Department of Zoology, Professor Saeed Javed Hussain. I appreciate for your presence and your inaugural address. So as we are talking about innovation and scientific temper, in our constitution, there is mention of how to develop this scientific temper. In 1976, India became the first country to include in its constitution scientific temper with humanism as a fundamental duty. So this is how we have, our forefathers have decided to take up science in new era. And last year, new education policy was introduced in India. And in that, it is also envisaged, there is basically provision for developmental skill as well as this scientific temper among the youths. So we need to understand, there is need for understanding of the importance of scientific temper and innovation among youths. So now it is my pleasure to invite Professor Rashid, who is basically from Mata Vaishno Devi University. He is presently Principal Coordinator, ICMR Center for Advanced Research, and he is Senior Assistant Professor, School of Biotechnology, Shri Mata Vaishno Devi University, Katra, Jammu. And he has immense experience and exposure at the international level. He has been postdoctoral research fellow at UTSW Medical Center in Dallas, United States. And he has been postdoctoral research associate, senior research technology at Washington University School of Medicine, St. Louis, USA. So he has got his MSc from Guru Nanak Dev University, one of the prestigious university in Punjab. And then he started his PhD from All India Institute of Medical Science. It's again interesting that he has got roots from Kashmir, and he has got many awards and honors. He has published more than 30 papers and is regularly presenting his papers at international level. So it may take me one day to explain his achievements. So he will explain himself what he has achieved, and he will motivate our youngsters to take up science. I now humbly request Professor Thusu Saab to deliver his lecture. Please. Just a minute. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, you are now audible.
Okay. Namaskar and salam alaikum to all of you. And I welcome all the. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. You are audible to us.
Okay.
You go ahead.
I thank Dr. Ummer and Head Department of Zoology, GDC Anantnag, and other faculty members who thought of inviting me for such a scintillating talk about the scientific temper and building in the youngsters. And it's such a topic close to my heart. I mean, that's all the time when we are not discussing science, we are discussing how we should inoculate this scientific temper among the students, among the faculty, among the school teachers, and among the school going kids. And that is very, very important, because we have already done, science has reached a plethora of things and done a plethora of things around the world, and we lag behind. We all know, due to the present political circumstances, whatever we have, the geographical isolation of the region, we get a lot of setbacks, whether that is due to weather, that is due to political circumstances. we still need to move ahead and do it. We have to multiply our efforts so that all of our youngsters, whosoever is listening to us, they're all interested in science. Now, let me get back to my background first. As Dr. Umar already said, that I belong to the state of, I was born in district Kupwara. It's a village, it's a small village near Trehgam. I was born there. I was brought up in Soura. Both of my parents worked in Soura, Sherry Kashmir Institute of Medical Sciences. And after unfortunate circumstances in around 89-90, we moved to Jammu. I started my schooling here, and I went to for MSc in Human Genetics from Guru Nanak Dev University, Department of Human Genetics. I did my PhD from All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. Then I did my postdoc from Washington University. I did another postdoc from UT Southwest Medical Center, and I eventually landed a faculty position in Shri Mata Vaishno Devi University around 2012 December. Now the question is, I was just I'm just talking to the students here. I was just one of you, like one of you, a decade back. So what made me, how I got to that positions, and how I took those opportunities, which opportunities I lost, and how I lost those opportunities, and what was the mindset I'll be discussing. Before I start my presentation, I'll take 5 or 6 minutes before introducing you to the world of science. I'll introduce you to the path which leads you towards the science. When I finished my BSc, I did my BSc from GGM Science College, Jammu. It's one of the oldest colleges in Jammu. Frankly telling, I had no idea what to do. I was not able to clear MBBS exam at class 12. So I had to do BSc, and I had no idea how to go ahead in life. What are the opportunities which lay ahead of me? And then we had no internet. We had no counseling from schools, colleges. We had we had a very good extended educated family system where you can be guided by elders, teachers, students. So we had no idea. We started with 110 students in BSc first, and only 30 students were left in BSc third year. It's not that they failed, it's that they left in between. Somebody joined police as a constable, somebody joined as a junior assistant, somebody went for typing exam. And I'm not averse to that. I mean, we all need to have a bread and butter at home. That is not difficult to understand the conditions of various kinds of people with different economic backgrounds. But then they also didn't have anybody to guide them that, okay, you do one thing, बैठ जाओ 2 साल और कर लो, graduation हो जाएगी. But there was a police recruitment one day, and whole of our class was absent from that day. Everybody went for their police recruitment because everybody wanted to have a buck in their pocket. So question here is that what were they doing in the college at the first instance? They were not there for science. They were not there for anything else. They were there for a degree which can fetch them a job, any job they wish. They can take, they can get some money home back, they can take care of their parents. And that teaches us a very, very valuable lesson, that money is very, very important factor in deciding the fate of a student, of a scholar. And in present circumstances, we have seen that money plays a very, very important role. Now, anyway, so we were left with only half a dozen, 2 dozen students left in the class, around 30 students who finished with their graduation. I'm just talking about one section of the class who finished with the graduation. And out of those 30, only 8 or 10 students went for master's degree, whether they went for chemistry, whether they went for like me for genetics, or they went for biotechnology. Out of those 12, only 3 people did PhD, 3 or 4. So that means a class of 110 who started their journey together, only 3 or 4 were left at the end who finished their degrees, who were inquisitive about science, who wanted to work towards the development of science. Out of these 4, maybe 50% were there because they didn't find anything else. Now the question is, who are the people who actually work towards science? Who are the people who have actually, excuse me, we have some disturbance somewhere.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. So how to inculcate that scientific feeling among your peers, among your students? This responsibility wholly and solely lies not only on parents, but teachers. Teachers like me, teachers like your head school of zoology, teachers like Ummer. We have a collective responsibility to guide our youngsters. We have a collective responsibility to show them that this is something which you might have to take a different difficult path, but it will give you satisfaction at the end, and you can do it. I will share a small presentation with you guys, and then I'll tell you how we can do it, and why it is possible. And trust me, this is the best way of earning your money, best and the great way of earning your money, great way of earning your livelihood if you invest yourself in science. Investing yourself in science takes your time, and time is a very, very critical factor for all of us. And if you are ready, if you want that, you have the time. It's my duty to tell you that there are thousands of opportunities for you, not even one opportunity. Other jobs may have 5% or 8% probability of landing a job. Scientific field has more than 70% of chances of landing a job. You have a very, very good chance of getting settled down in your life as quickly as possible once you land in science. That's very critical factor. Whenever I speak, this is one factor which I usually talk about, is that how people feel about science and how people feel about the economic reasons for taking up science. Let me share a screen with you. I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. All the pictures I have taken are from different publications, or they're from Google, or they're from different media houses. So we are here to discuss inoculating scientific temper and innovation among all the young minds. So when we talk about and we distinguish them among the young minds, we must understand what the young minds are. Young minds are not only
excuse me, please. Somebody is playing with the screen. Please do not do this. I'll keep watch on you and I will remove you. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay. So when we are talking about young minds, we are talking about college going students. We are talking about school going students. We are talking about students right from the primary school, middle school, high school, higher secondary, college going students. They're all young minds. Until they don't decide to quit, they're all young minds. And we have major challenges at different levels for different kind of students. So coming in context of India as a country, and what led India to the development in science, and what were the main reasons for the choice of the development of the technology. You must all know that India has undergone a major leap of changes in last 30, 40 years, maybe 50 years after independence. And in early 19th, when there was a successive globalization, the economy was growing. Indian government invited participation from global investors in all the key sectors. And over the years, the strength of the country, the economic strength of the country increased. Country has major strides in sectors like telecommunication, agriculture, roads, space, energy, defense. When I was in US, I was paying $25 for 1 month of internet usage. $25 is somewhere near 1200 to 1500 rupees in Indian currency. So 1200 to 1500 rupees in Indian currency, you are paying for 1 month's only internet connection. And now you take an Indian scenario in right now, you are paying for same amount of data, you're paying somewhere less than 500 rupees, $6 or $7. So that is because this is led by our own industries, that's led by our own country. So our population is such a huge population that we drive the economy and we drive the challenges of these communication sectors. And this is all because of innovation in marketing techniques, innovation in sales techniques. We are leader in the agriculture. We have surplus food amounts, surplus wheat, rice. We hardly import any food items from outside. We are making very good roads. All of us know that we are neck to neck with NASA and other space agencies of the world. We launched Mangalyans, we launched Chandrayans. We do very good type of research in ISRO. We have a very good energy sector. Our defense is growing. We have started our own production. So that means that innovations are not far behind. In a context of India, if we see, we are all growing up, and this is a if you are right now a college student, this is the best time to grow. I mean, there is innovation and opportunities all around you. But then if we compare ourselves to Singapore, South Korea, Japan, and even China, we lag behind. And all these countries except South Korea and Singapore, they're all colonies of British, and they were all freed from British rule. China is typically a colony of British, and then Japan had such a big destruction after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They all built up, and all because of innovation. If you see nowadays, China is growing leaps and bounds. They have such a huge amount of innovations. Every small thing you get is made in China, not because of the labor, but because they have the innovation factor associated with their work. So how can we define the scientific temper? The scientific temper is characterized by healthy debates, healthy skepticism, universalism, objectivity, rationality. We have to promote these and other human values, and they have to become an integral part of our education system. We must have, and I put these words strongly, that we must have a innovation encouragement and a counseling session in each and every college. And I would like Ummer to take a lead in this and start this type of, if you have 8 academic classes, you should have one class in which you teach your kids to be innovative, to be creative, to share their creative, to share their ideas. Everybody of us gets ideas. So it's not that I'm the only one who gets the idea. Every one of us gets ideas. Day-to-day life, we get so many hiccups in day-to-day life. So you can always develop an idea that what day-to-day life hurdles you get. You get hurdles in the field, you get hurdles while climbing up the stairs, you get hurdles while climbing up a tree, you get hurdles while going for a walk. You have to be solution ready. My daughter is 9 years old. Whenever she comes with a problem to me, I have a solution for her. I always tell her, when you bring problem, you always come with the solution and give me options 1, 2, 3. That this is the way we can do it. Maybe they might not be feasible. Those solutions may not be feasible, but let's hear them out. Maybe current circumstances they are not feasible. Maybe let's hear them out. Maybe they are strange. We must encourage that kind of objectivity in the kids. They must come with a solution. When you have a problem, you bring the solution also, and let the hello.
You are audible.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And let them bring the solution with you, and you decide then whether that solution can be applied or not. So there are so many innovations. Now you have an innovation in mind. What to do? Whom to approach? Whom to approach with your innovation? आप किसको बोलोगे कि मेरे पास ये आइडिया है, मुझे ये आइडिया से ये काम करना है, मुझे इस आइडिया से आपको छोड़ दीजिए कि आपको पेटेंट करना है या वो आइडिया आपको पैसे कमा के देगा. आप अभी सिर्फ सोचिए कि आपके पास साइंस है, साइंटिफिक आइडिया है, आप ये साइंटिफिक आइडिया से कुछ करना चाहते हैं, तो आप सबसे पहले किसके पास जाएंगे? सो एवरी कॉलेज शुड हैव somebody, a nodal officer. Every school should have a nodal officer where all these students with them young minds can go and talk to and then see what they can do. In next few slides, I'm going to take you through that journey. So talking about India's policies in science and technology, the wealth and prosperity of a nation, which we all know, depends upon the effective utilization of its human and material resources. That is through industrialization. Lately, we all know about the oxygen and the lack of oxygen supplies in India due to COVID-19, and how the governments came together, how they transported oxygen, how they airlifted oxygen plants from different countries. That is all because of the human and material resources, which the country like India can afford to do. And this is because we have the technical and training. We need to invest more time and money in it. So when India got independent, the major thing that India had to decide was about the agriculture, because बहुत सारे लोग मर रहे थे फाकों से. There was कहत हो गया था, फेमाइन हो गया था, फेमस फेमाइन आपने लोगों ने सुना होगा. तो उन लोगों को बचाने के लिए एक एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर, मिल्क सेक्टर में एक बहुत बड़ा रेवोल्यूशन आया, जिसे हम ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन के नाम से भी जानते हैं. तो वो ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन हमारे फूड डेफिसिट्स के लिए था, जो 1960 से शुरू हुआ और इंडिया को उस चीज से बाहर निकाला. आज का, अब का, now is the time that we need to be creative, we need to be entrepreneur, we need to have our own companies. If a Mark Zuckerberg can start Facebook, why can't we? Why don't we start something? Every day thousands of new companies come into market. Only yesterday I was looking at the internet and I found 62 new companies, and none of the company was founded by a person from Jammu and Kashmir. Though there were a few Indians in that, but nobody was from Jammu and Kashmir. Our state's share was not there. So what do we need? We need young boys, all boys. Everybody thinks that how we can do it. We need somebody who knows how we can do it, who necessarily not mean that he knows how to do it, but he knows the people who know how to do it. So he can make a chain of the people. He can guide that person to a specific person who will allow that bright mind, young mind, to implement his idea and help him develop his idea. And that is very, very important. Honorable Vice President of India, in a scientific conference lately, said that it's very, very important to inculcate scientific temper in young children. he was very, very particular. If you read about his statement, he was very particular that we need to inculcate these things in primary and middle school students, pre-high school students, because this is where they decide what to be. Likely, we all usually talk to our kids, talk to our students, what do you want to be when you grow up? So we always take, sometimes we want to become we want to be a pilot, we want to be whatever fancies them more they would like to do. But how many times we have heard that they said we want to be innovators, we want to be experimentalists, we want to be, they might say we want to be scientists, but how many times they say we want to invent something, we want to be entrepreneurs for that sake. So that is very, very important factor, that how we inculcate that scientific temper among the children. There is a CSR innovation award for school children. This is a yearly process. The picture I'm showing you is for the year 2020. Do you know how many of your known to school kids have applied for this young brains, scientific brains of India? Even I am related to the field. I came, when I was preparing this presentation, I came through a lot of knowledge, information which I didn't have. So information dissemination is very, very important. That is why we need nodal officers. We need somebody who can disseminate this information. मैंने अखबारों में देखा है, लोकल अखबारों में बहुत बारी ये आता है, मगर लोग ध्यान नहीं देते हैं, और वो अगर ध्यान भी देते होंगे तो बहुत मिनिस्कल अमाउंट में जो लोग हैं वो इस चीज को ध्यान देते हैं. If you see, look at this slide, what does it say? It says inspiring young scientific brains of India. Entries for school children below 18 years. So they have kept a cut here, below 18 years. All the school going children, they can apply for this CSR Innovation Award. There are awards. First prize is 1 lakh rupees, fifth prize is 10,000 rupees. So 15 awards will be given. So we must put our mind to work. We must disseminate this information to all schools and make them accountable so that they talk about it to their students, and sometimes they also can participate in this technology. इसी बीच में मैं आपको बताऊंगा, when I was in US, I was a judge for STEM. वो भी स्कूल लेवल कॉम्पिटिशंस होते हैं वहाँ पे साइंस टेक्नोलॉजी के. I have been a judge for like 3 years in that STEM competitions. It was totally honorary job. They would invite us, send an invite to our university, and then get us to the school where all the school students will present something, and then we will judge them. So question is not who qualifies or who doesn't qualify. Question is they started a movement. Like this way they can inculcate scientific temper among the kids. I know a kid who's one of my friend's son. Because of this STEM, he got into UCLA, California, and he is soon going to graduate with a degree, with a PhD from Stanford. So what does that mean? That means that these kind of activities, not hollow activities on paper, actual activities, you don't need to spend money on those activities. A school, you have 10 school teachers, 2 teachers can guide 4 students each, and you can have a small exhibition type of their work, bring some scientists in and around. Luckily, JNK has a lot of universities and research institutions. We will be more than happy to come and judge them. And locally, you don't need to spend more money on that. Locally, you can be helped, and then once you show them, that will be something achieved. That will be something very appreciable for the kids, and they will be very happy with the achievements. Just a minute. Check this new slide. These are Atal Tinkering Labs. a new concept has cropped in about the tinkering labs. What are tinkering labs? Tinkering labs are those labs where anybody can go. If you have a tinkering lab in and around that Anantnag area, suppose in GDC Anantnag, anybody from local, from Pahalgam, from Kulgam, from anywhere, they can come to that tinkering lab, have an idea, they get a workspace, get an ideas, and the in charge of the tinkering lab can help them innovate. And this is how Niti Aayog has given this initiative of Atal Tinkering Labs, and they will set up world-class labs in schools. Now, it's our duty that we need to talk to school education department. We need to talk to schools that they should apply for these Atal Tinkering Labs and get a very well-established labs in school. You and me, we all know what kind of a labs we have, even in colleges. Forget about the schools. We need to upgrade those labs. We need to upgrade those labs on both infrastructure. We need to upgrade those labs on reagents. We need to upgrade on the innovation levels. Then innovation levels, once you have a fully functional lab, by next 1 or 2 years, you will reap the benefit of that lab. You can do, there is an initiative from UNICEF which says Innovation Week. You can start an Innovation Week at your local level. By having an Innovation Week at your local level, which can tinker the young minds, which can inculcate the fusion among the young minds for this kind of a science. Then again, this I was talking about the Atal Tinkering Labs. Jammu Kashmir Entrepreneur Developmental Institution, as a Jammu Kashmir Startup Policy 2018, there was a first state level innovation competition which was launched in 2019 for Smart JK Hackathon. Focus areas were agriculture, solid waste management, horticulture, tourism, handicraft, smart city. So if we had any idea, we could have easily submitted our proposal here. And we are unlucky we have got the COVID after that. But these initiatives are going to be further strengthened after the COVID vanishes and we start our normal daily life. And this is where we need to focus. If they have, and I'm surprised that they keep on extending the last date, because they don't get required number of applications. So why don't they get the required number of applications? Because people don't trust. People don't think that this is actual exercise. They always think that this is a paper exercise. Nothing will happen. हम फॉर्म भरेंगे, कुछ नहीं होगा, कोई पूछेगा नहीं, कोई कांटेक्ट नहीं होगा. चीजें बदल गई हैं. We must understand that everybody is accountable now. So this accountability is very important. If you have an idea, don't wait. Talk to the local representative. Go to EDI website. Go to incubator centers. Just recently, I mean last month, 3 incubator centers, new incubator centers have been sanctioned to Jammu Kashmir. I think 2 are in Srinagar. I mean, one is in Baramulla and I think one is in Anantnag. I'm not sure about it. But Baramulla one is sure. I'm sure about the Baramulla one. That one is there. So what is the fun of those incubation centers if you don't go and incubate your idea? If you have any idea, you don't need to invest anything. That is where their help will come. They'll come and help you out with the investment. Because government is spending a lot of money on those ideas. Another very important thing which can help students economically is Prime Minister's scholarship, PMSSS. I know a lot of students are taking benefit of it, but we need to bring more students into this ambit. We need more students who can be supported economically. And I know economic condition is not good for everybody. And we need more students, we need more fellowships, but we need to bring this information and dissemination to almost every panchayat block levels, and every household should know that this is how there is a scholarship for my kid. If I apply, I will get the scholarship. And don't lose hope. We still have very good things coming out from our state. There's a 9-year-old Kashmiri boy who has invented a counting pen. He got rewarded for this from President Ramnath Kovind. 9-year-old. These are Kashmiri engineering students. They have designed Tashner. They said to reduce the effort of who carry the traditional Tashner in Kashmiri weddings. That's very, very good, innovative idea. And I'll tell you one more thing. A few years back, I represented state of Jammu and Kashmir when it was state at IIT Delhi. It was a science exhibition and Indian science, Indian International Science Fest. I represented Jammu and Kashmir there as one of the faculties, and I saw, and when we were judging around about the exhibition, I saw more than 30 innovative ideas from Jammu and Kashmir, all from government schools, and teachers had worked so hard on them that almost 15 or 16 were worth the time and effort. And I mean, that should be inculcated. We should have a school in Gurez, the Karna, Tangmarg, Sonmarg. We should have a school at Sinthan, Kishtwad, Punch. Everybody should be participating, not few schools. We need teachers for that. We need teachers who have an innovative mind. We need teachers who have a right kind of a training. Only having a degree does not matter here. They need to have a right kind of training. One, they need to have a right kind of attitude towards their students. And lastly, the present Lieutenant Governor of Jammu and Kashmir, Honorable Manoj Sinha ji, he has been batting for innovations at university levels. Most likely, they will be pushing more funds towards these activities in the coming months. And I hope all of us will take benefit for the same, and we'll put more of our ideas to work. So, what are the basic level difficulties? Government schools have poor infrastructure. We have no doubt about it. Poor and very poor. I will say very poor infrastructure. Even after having very poor infrastructure, very poor lab structure, it's very difficult for them to talk about science and innovation and scientific experiments. But we need block level, we need PPE model, like we need the local people. They need to guide those schools. They need to help those schools run their labs, their schools. We need local administration. We need somebody who can take care of at local level and get these things rectified. Private schools, we have seen mostly focus on academic scores of the students. कि कितने बच्चे MBBS select हुए, कितने बच्चों ने position लाई. There's no score of the private schools on or the schools, government schools, on the basis of innovation. कितने innovations किए, कौन से entrepreneurs बने. So this is one thing which needs to change. I think this is to be done at the school level. Another thing is qualified staff. I mean, you cannot run all of these things through an untrained mind. You always need a trained person. You need to change, and I always believe it strongly. The change in the application form, the eligibilities of the teacher need to change. Then only you can change the course of the students. Now, how to develop the curiosity among the students. School children are the natural scientists, all children. So all these type of questions that scientists presume, curiosity is how world makes engaging children in science relatively easy. But there's a difference between the casual observation among the students and in more disciplined efforts of scientists. We must not discourage those who are asking us questions, but we must make them rational, that how rationally they can think of the idea. How we can introduce these children to the culture of science, its type of reasoning, tools of observation, measurement, standards of evidence. their values, belief systems of the scientific knowledge, our traditional knowledge. So children are able to take on these learning challenges successfully, even if they are small, like 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade students. We must start very young. One very important message to all of you is collective responsibility. You must encourage children at home, children in your neighborhood. That is one very important. Do not discourage them. Always encourage them. Encourage them that they can do it. Teach them some scientific stories from your religious text, from scientific books. Teach them some scientific inquisitives. Take them to a wildlife trip. Ask them different questions. Ask them about a leaf, how the leaf takes food, oxygen. Always discuss these type of things with your children. They'll definitely inculcate scientific behavior among themselves. And with this, I hope I have not taken more time. I thank all of you for patiently listening. The one who did this drawing on my slides, Dr. Ummer, who took the pain of inviting me, then canceling it, and then again.
Oh, it's okay.
Thank
you.
No, it's doing these kind of activities.
No, there was basically miscommunication. I'm sorry, but there was some sort of miscommunication. That's why.
And I think
because I have to, contact friends and colleagues about this meeting. That's why I thought it was excellent.
What I'm saying is, it's very difficult job to organize an event. I mean, I have been an event organizer for so many events, and I know it's a hell of a job to do all these activities. And I thank Professor Javed, head Department of Zoology, DDC, Anantnag, and in addition to all the participants who listen to me. We might meet someday in some other place, maybe again here. We might discuss more about how we can develop these ideas. Thank you, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Professor Rakesh Thasu, and it was excellent talk. And you basically, what I got in the crackers from your lecture, from your talk, that dissemination of information is very important, because youngsters are not aware about different schemes, fellowship schemes, and different information from government as well as from the institution. That's very important. And here comes the role of teacher. He has to tell the students where they can get these fellowships and learning tools for innovation and for developing scientific temper. And in addition, this encouragement and motivation is important. And for youngsters, you and another speaker are motivation for them. You can just read about Professor Dr. Rakesh Thasu on the website of Mata Vaishno Devi. You can just imagine how he has struggled and has reached up to this stage. So I thank you again. If anybody has question, I can unmute. So you can have your questions, so you can ask. So please, I am allowing now. Anybody who has live question? Okay. Anybody who can ask a question to our expert? We have another session. We have another speaker. So we can take up another speaker. But if anybody has a question, he can ask.
Sir, may I ask?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Assalamu alaikum, sir, to all of you, and have a warm good afternoon to Mr. Dr. Rakesh Thasu, sir. Sir, it may be an odd statement to start with this, but I think that the whole scenario we are organizing, and we are organizing seminars, webinars, etc. But I think it is going to be the beating around the bush, the whole exercise, sir. Because one thing is that the lot of population. Sir, whosoever has participated in this meeting is fully aware. I know that he is fully aware, and he is interested in to inoculate or to evaporate his ideas. But the main thing is that we are not irrigating the roots. The main thing is कि हम जो हमारे लोग हैं, जो हमारी जो पॉपुलेशन है, ज्यादा पॉपुलेशन है, जो गरीब तबका है या कोई हमारे हम देख रहे हैं कि कोई फील्ड्स में काम कर रहा है, तो उनके पास हम नहीं पहुंच सकते हैं सर। सो उसके लिए अगर आपके पास कोई इनिशिएटिव हो, कोई ये जो बोलते हैं उसको कि अगर आपके पास कोई तरबीद है कि वो उनके पास पहुंच जाए, सो दैट इज मोर मच फ्रूटेबल देन दिस वी आर गोइंग टू डू।
Yes, valid point, Professor Rakesh. He's talking about how we can transfer from lab to home.
I got his question. Thank you, Suno. But your question will be divided into two parts. One, you said all people who are attending this seminar, they already know.
Yes, sir.
I started with my lecture about my class. I said we were 130 students in BSc first year.
Okay,
I don't know which year you are. And we were.
Sir, I'm in 6th to 7th.
Okay. And we were left with only 30 students in third year. Only 10 or 12 students did MSc, and only 2 or 3 students did PhD. So that means its encouragement is not at one level, and difficulties are not at only the school level. It is what should have been the regular normal percentage of people, at least 15 or 20 PhDs out of those 130. That is the normal. That is what happens in Germany once they do MSc and then they go for PhD. So what is stopping them? They have no idea what to do with their life. They have economic issues. So this is something, if I won't tell, if there is a scholarship for, suppose, Muslim students, there is a minority fellowship. How many of you know that there is a minority fellowship for higher education? If I don't tell you, so most of you don't know. When I did my MSc, I had no idea you can go out of India for doing PhD. I had never heard about it. मैंने तो कभी सुना ही नहीं था कि इंडिया से बाहर आप पीएचडी करने जा सकते हो, वो पैसे भी देते हैं, आप कमा भी सकते हो। मैं शायद इंडिया में करता ही नहीं, मैं बाहर चला जाता। मगर अब अगर मुझे कोई पूछता है, मैंने अपने 3 स्टूडेंट्स को पीएचडी करने के लिए यूएस भेजा। क्यों? क्योंकि मुझे पता था, मैंने वो इन्फॉर्मेशन उनके साथ शेयर की कि भाई आप डायरेक्टली जा सकते हो करने के लिए, आपके पास फेलोशिप है। मेरे पास एक मुस्लिम लड़का है, उसको अप्लाई करवाया माइनॉरिटी फेलोशिप के लिए, मिला नहीं मिला अलग बात, पर उसको बोला कि तुम्हारे पास उसको मैंने समझाया कि आपके लिए इतनी फेलोशिप्स हैं, आप इन सब फेलोशिप्स को अवेल कर सकते हो, आप अपने पेरेंट्स पे बर्डन नहीं बन सकते, आप अपना खर्चा खुद उठा सकते हो, गवर्नमेंट आपकी हेल्प करेगी, आप पढ़ाई करो। पढ़ाई से सबसे पहले वो लोग छूटते हैं, वो नहीं जिनके पास आइडिया नहीं है या करना नहीं चाहते, वो लोग छूटते हैं जिनके पास सोर्स नहीं होता है करने के लिए, जिनके पास पीछे से फैमिली होती है करने के लिए, फादर नहीं है, मदर नहीं है, घर में कमाने वाला कोई नहीं है, आप जवान हो गए हो, आप घर से मांग नहीं सकते। वो चीजों को कैसे दूर करोगे आप? इंफॉर्मेशन डिसिमिनेशन, जैसे उमर ने कहा, इंफॉर्मेशन डिसिमिनेशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट। आपको, मुझे कुछ पॉलिसीज का पता ही नहीं था कि हमारे पास इंडिया में है, मेरे को अब पता चला, मैं तो रोज इन्हीं के साथ डील करता हूँ, यानी कि मेरे पास भी इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है पूरी। तो वो इंफॉर्मेशन को किस तरह से, जब हम एक नोडल ऑफिसर को सिलेक्ट करेंगे, एक डिजिग्नेट करेंगे, उसका काम ही यही होगा कि डिफरेंट इंफॉर्मेशन अलग अलग जगह से लाना, एक जगह कलेक्ट करके उसको डिसिमिनेट करना पॉपुलेशन। अब आ गया आप क्वेश्चन नंबर 2 कि हम स्कूल चिल्ड्रंस को कैसे करें, या बच्चों को, गरीब लोगों को। तो बेस्ट तरीका तो हम घर घर जाना तो इम्पॉसिबल है, तो स्कूल आर द बेस्ट वेज। वी नीड टू cater to schools. Everybody need to have this responsibility. School education board needs to take this responsibility of inculcating the scientific temper among the teachers first. जो स्कूल में पढ़ाते हैं, बच्चे बहुत बाद में आएंगे। पहले टीचर्स को बोलना है, उनको एक रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी देनी है कि आपने अपने स्कूल से 4 आइडियाज डेवलप करने हैं साल के। ऐसा नहीं कि 100 आइडिया बोलेंगे, वो बेचारे कर नहीं पाएंगे। 3 आइडिया, 4 आइडिया साल के, 4 स्टूडेंट्स को आप अपने अपने स्कूल में से सिलेक्ट करना है जिनके ये आइडिया होंगे, उनको स्टेट लेवल पे आगे लाना है, पहले डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे, फिर स्टेट लेवल पे, फिर हम नेशनल लेवल पे, इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे उनको आगे ले जाएंगे और चेक करेंगे। और उसका पूरा मैकेनिज्म है, बस हम पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर रहे हैं। और हम लोग स्कूल्स में, ऐसा नहीं है कि स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम ऐसा नहीं कर रहा है, पर वो जब इंफॉर्मेशन पहुंचती है, कश्मीर के साथ तो खैर अब बेसिकली रीजन है कि कश्मीर में कभी इंफॉर्मेशन हो जाती है, इंटरनेट बंद हो जाता है, यहाँ तो रेगुलर एक्टिविटी कम चल रही है, तो ये एक्टिविटीज तो बहुत दूर की बात है, मगर अगर जल्दी नॉर्मलाइज होती है सिचुएशन तो इन चीजों के बारे में लोकल लेवल पे ही हम कर सकते हैं। ये बहुत इजीली डुएबल है और किया जा सकता है। हाँ, उसके बाद आता है सेकंड केस, फंडिंग। अगर हम अच्छे से पिच करेंगे तो हो सकता है फंडिंग मिल जाए। और जिस तरीके से अभी पॉलिसीज चल रही हैं, मुझे लगता है कि स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम बहुत जल्दी रिनोवेट होने वाला है, तो हो सकता है हम बहुत अच्छा फंडिंग भी हमें मिले। मगर तब तक हम अपने आइडिया ऑन पेन एंड पेपर तो रेडी करें, वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है हमारे लिए। टीचर्स की ट्रेनिंग होना बहुत जरूरी है, टीचर्स की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग होना बहुत जरूरी है, टीचर्स के लिए सेमिनार होना बहुत जरूरी है। आज का जैसा हमारा सेमिनार था, इस तरह से कम अगर हम स्कूल एजुकेशन सिस्टम को ये भेजते, अगर 50 टीचर भी हम हर स्कूल से वो अटेंड करते, तो हो सकता है उनको 10 टाइप की इंफॉर्मेशन मिलती, वो आगे और लोगों को वो डिसिमेट करते। रेस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी हमें अपने लेवल पे भी लेनी पड़ेगी, वो ऑप्शन नहीं है कोई हमारे लिए।
Yes, thank you for your reply. There are a number of issues which basically these students face, because I am basically running out of time. So I thank you here, and I am going to invite another speaker. So inshallah, we will invite you again offline. I think we will invite you here so that you will interact with our students. And meanwhile, they can contact you through email or on Facebook, so that they can get information from you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So now I am going to invite Dr. Muzaffar Jan, and he is well-known scientist, and he has a postdoc at New York University School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, and has been also involved in National Institute of Health Research. And presently he is assistant professor of biochemistry in higher education. So he will be talking on stone blocks in development of scientific temper among Kashmiri youth. So I'm going to invite, without wasting time, Dr. Rajesh sir, please remove your screen. Can you please remove your screen? Rajesh sir?
Yeah, I'm just doing it.
Okay. Okay.
Is it done?
No, not yet. You just share.
Okay.
Okay. So, Dr. Muzaffar, are you with us?
Yes.
Okay, you just start.
So, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. I am Muzaffar Jan, and I am currently serving as assistant professor of biochemistry.
So you just a minute. You can just provide you information about your achievement, because we are lacking time. I cannot explain here. So you just tell them how you motivated towards science and what are your achievements, because you have achieved a lot, I know, and you just explain it, because this is basically a motivational talk, and you can also motivate them, youngsters, how to do it.
So my talk is basically about scientific temperament and innovation, which is the topic as well. So agar hum dekhte hain, there are many facets of this scientific temperament in a particular society. Especially it's there are, for example, our education system, our social and cultural aspects, then there are administrative aspects, and then there is infrastructure and technology, then there are other human resource indexes. However, I will we have very less time, so I will be talking mostly about the education system. So I will not be going into much in theory and all that. I will be talking about things which we experience every day in our life, or about our education system. I mean, if you see, for example, any kind of scientific discovery we have witnessed over time, because I understand most of the people who are in this webinar are mostly from science background. So it is kind of serendipity and curiosity, like how we actually are curious about things. For example, for example, a lot of discoveries. Let's take example of let's say for example, Alexander Fleming, the guy who actually discovered penicillin. You see, how it happened. It was not penicillin that picked, for example, Alexander Fleming, or similarly Galileo, like, he discovered moons of Jupiter. So the problem is with our, like, we are going to, decipher the problems with our education system. Okay. Is it, so is it audible?
Go ahead. You are now audible.
Is it audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
So I have seen, like, in my classes, in interacting with students, I have seen very, strange things going on since I joined this department. For example, we have our education system. I am teaching to students, they have been trained like we have been trained in our times. Like हमें क्या training दी जाती है, like you have to read to pass exams. Similarly, we pass on it to next generations. Like our students know, हमारे students को अच्छी तरह पता होता है कि हमें खाली पढ़ाई करनी है इसलिए, so that क्योंकि हम exams pass करेंगे. This is the only thing I have learned in our education system till now. For example, if I am teaching in a class, nobody ever tries to understand what your teacher is trying. Okay, I'm not focusing this stuff just on students. It is like faculties as well. There is so much fakeness in our science. Like, just take, for example, a simple example मैं दूंगा. अगर आप graduation कर रहे हो, just take a book from Kashmir University teacher. Okay, just see how fake it is. Like, they are teaching you how to memorize, how to pronounce things. But have you ever seen a book from Kashmir University, teacher coming which shows you experimental details? Like, have you ever wondered, like, आप science की कोई भी class लेते हो, अभी तक आप में किसी ने भी ये कोशिश की होगी कि ये actually मैं कर सकता हूँ? Like, let's say, for example, we know that potato has starch, and we know how to know that it is starch. Has anybody tried it? No. Because, we have been trained to do exams, or exams, let me take you one. I have, made one beautiful example, which I have experienced. And I think, like, that will justify what I am saying. Once I was teaching in my class, I was teaching, translation. So you are in science, protein synthesis. So I was discussing in detail translation elongation. Then I asked students, okay, can you tell me what is molecular mimicry? I even gave them hints. Nobody was like, I asked the students what is translation elongation. So, out of around 35 students, around 30 students were able to explain to me. No, I am just trying to explain what kind of education and why do we lack the innovation, and why do we lack scientific temperament in it. So 30 students were able to discuss and even write everything and tell me everything about translation elongation. But then I asked them, what is molecular mimicry? Nobody knew it, as if, like, they were monkeys and they were trained, like, you have to remember stuff. So that is one point. This is what I have experienced from my own class. And another day, as this is a zoology lecture, you might understand what I'm saying. So another day I was telling students about ribosome structure, transfer RNA structure. Then I was like, after some time, I just explained and took some of the students. I asked them, what is molecular mimicry? What is molecular mimicry? I even gave them examples. I gave them examples. Every domain of life, whether you go into microorganisms, you go into plants, you go into animals, you see, like, we have all the same stuff. Genetic code, it is universal. But nobody was able to answer me what is the chemical unity of life. So they were trained. Then I asked students, you are, I even sometimes students would ask me, please repeat this. I have not written it. So I, एक बार क्या हुआ कि मैं students के साथ बैठ गया. मैंने एक student को पूछा that why are you taking these notes? He said, like, they are, कल हमारा exam होगा, and in exam, like, you already know what kind of questions I will be asking. He said, even yes. But see, like, they were trained to do those things. And from every level, from top to bottom, everything in our, like, I am talking particularly, I won't go into India, the context in Indian science, because many places in India are quite developed, like tertiary research institutes are sometimes doing good, but majority of sciences in India is we lack somewhere. But when we are talking particularly about the science in Valley, there is a complete lack. We lack completely the scientific temperament. Scientific temperament demands curiosity, and curiosity we don't lack, we don't have it. For example, students taking notes in classes, they really care, they don't really care about what teacher is talking about. They even remember, like, you can ask them any kind of question, they can answer you, but they don't really are curious to know what is going on, like why he is asking this question. Like, for example, just few days back, I was teaching to my students, like, oxygen transport by hemoglobin. So I am giving the ground level examples, what I am experiencing, and it is true. Everybody of it is true. And then I will try to correlate it, why it is actually the failure of the system, failure of us, and failure of students who are not able to grasp the bigger questions and bigger opinions about science. So I was teaching these students, like, about hemoglobin, how hemoglobin transport. So these examples I choose because they are the easiest examples for this webinar to understand for most of the people. So I explained them, how iron, hemoglobin, ferric, and ferrous states are involving. After I was done with the class, I asked the brightest students, why does our blood look different in veins when it is oxygenated and deoxygenated? And like, most of the students were not able to understand this. So they have memorized everything. Like, when you start learning a language, for example, if you start learning English, you learn pronunciations, how to sound them, how to even speak them. Look, like, take any example. I guarantee all of you, if you take a book with, you have to prepare for the exams, just take any book, just move any page. See, if you are reading zoology, just go into genetic code, for example. It will tell you everything about what is genetic code, but it won't tell you ever what is the experimental basis. Like, you can understand how these people actually did it. So you cannot really understand what they are telling you. They are actually making you learn the language. That is the basic funda what I'm telling here in this class. So scientific temper is not actually like that way. You cannot, you see, most of the classes I have taken in Kashmir, I know, like, they cannot handle a damn thing about what I am telling, because they cannot do it. They make so much theoretical claims about this and that, but failure lies somewhere within the system, where it starts, like, to my observation, what I have been, I was in some college, I started even research and innovation cell, where I was encouraging students, if you have any even dumbest idea, just bring it to me, let's make some sense out of it. The question was how to actually foster the critical thinking. Critical thinking is the most thing. Like, if you know what is science, so science, classically, science is not just you just learn different degrees, root learning. You get into 12th, you get into graduation, you get into PG, and that is it. That is not, see, like, you just look at it. When I was in West, I know from West. Yeah. Somebody has question. So when I was,
you can take up questions later on. I will.
Okay, when I was in West, I saw, like, those kids, they start schooling, like, at 8 or 9 years of age. But what puzzled me, like, for example, when I came to Kashmir, there are around, I would say, like, most of the people prefer to go into sciences. They are so much heavily, filled with science concepts and all that. But, like, when I compare those, compared to USA, there is, like, just not even 0.1% of people studying science compared to Kashmir, like at elementary level, when I compare to colleges and schools. But when I see, like, say, for example, 10 people in US, agar wahan ke 10 log science padhte hai, 2 of them will be the great scientists. But see, compare it with Kashmir, we don't have, like, can you name any prominent scientist which is working in Kashmir and who has emerged in Kashmir? I am a scientist because I did not study in Kashmir, although elementary level. But most of my education, although there is a struggle associated with even with that, like how it happens. The thing is that our elementary education system, like, you know, one of the reason, like I see a lot of people opting for science, but then they don't go. Like just talk, you know, just simply try to talk. You are taking books and just handle any book. Just go through any concept on that book. It will just dictate you pronunciation, how you can pronounce the topic, how you can actually memorize stuff, but you cannot really understand what it is trying to say you. Like there is no experimental observation, so that ki agar aap ghar aayenge, you will be able to at least able to do it at your home. Because when science is defined as experimental and observation, where is observation in it? Where is experiment in it? Like we are deviating from the definition, basic definition of science. So have you ever really thought कि इसमें observation and experimentation कहाँ है? अगर आप book भी पढ़ते हैं ना, where is observation and experimentation? Why is it not different than English and Urdu you are reading? Newspaper you are reading at home? There is no difference at all from your even books. I mean, just consider your Kashmir University book teacher. His mind setup is in a way that he even knows I have to write definitions, because he has himself did all that stuff to pass one particular exam, and he's transmitting same thing to the students, because he knows students are preparing for the exam. They just need bloody definitions. They just don't need anything. This is what science has become in our, like just take banking example. You know how much hardworking bankers are in our valley. They are working 24 hours. But have you seen any, even like, let's take concepts of taxation, let's take examples of ATM and other all those innovations. They come from West. Like less than 1% are involved in banking there. But then we have to understand the problem lies deeper somewhere. Even in our elementary, I understand the political setup, all that capriciousness that has been due to instability and all those stuff. But is our elementary education system enough equipped to understand what scientific temperament is? Have not we always been giving in our school education, like aap bacche ko kahan padhane ke liye bhej dete hain? The kind of school where he will fetch a lot of grades. Have you really ever bothered about, I will want him to go to some school, some teacher where there is actually development of that curiosity in him or her, or that kind of temperament in him, her, where he develops that kind of thinking, where he observes and experiments himself. That should start very early in life, but that is not doing. I know this is a lot of theoretical, but this this is very true. This is the fundamental truth. Like for example, in a college, if you have 100 students going, the word sir jo isse pehle hamare Rakesh sir wo de rahe the lecture, he said, like out of 100 students, it is only 3 or 4 students who end up doing higher education. So then you should understand, it is not from that system they emerge. Agar wo system se emerge hote na, then contribution would have been more. It is because their sole efforts, maybe some inspiration from someone, which we have scattered in inspirations, because our education system is not fostering that kind of elementary level of curiosity in these students. We know our education system, like they have to get grades, they have to fill up the positions and all that, but nobody really bothers about I was once taking this oral viva for practicals. In that, I was examining some students. There were some numerical questions I posed on him on kinetics. I was baffled to my mind. I asked every question to the student. He was even giving me numerical solutions. But when I finished with oral viva, I just told him simple analogy. I was making same points, but in a very broader image. Like, let's say I was talking numerical in terms of realities, what you can observe in the real world. He was not able to answer any of my questions, and he was the topper of the college. So somewhere the system is lagging. And where is system lagging? We are not, see, if I go into our teaching standards, let us talk about teachers. Our teachers, most of them, like there are good teachers, and presently there are a lot of them who are doing right now very good. They are researchers. So if you see presently in our education system, most of teachers are not equipped with this kind of, research and scientific temperament. I am not making it clear, exclusive that research is important, but scientific temperament is. Are you trying to make students to think what you are talking? How is your teaching different than the English teacher or language teacher who is teaching in the class? Are you really trying to make, doing that? Then the other problem in the system is our setup, our society, who is not promoting such stuff. Administrator, I don't want to, land up in mess to discuss administrative stuff. And I don't want to discuss even, other technological and, infrastructure things that are important for progression of scientific temperament. But let's see the role of society at least. In society, have we ever been coming out of our beliefs, and have you ever seen any science mela in Kashmir, where you actually go into open field with students and just trying to demonstrate them basic scientific concepts? I bet you, you are teaching zoology or we are teaching science. I am teaching biochemistry. And I'm sure most of the students I have been teaching, they just don't know the practical or, real observatory world around them. I was once trying to make example of, some, central dogma. I was trying to understand making, these students. So I am giving examples in this webinar so that students are trying to, will be able to understand them. So I was in the class, I was trying to make students, understand central dogma. I was explaining them why DNA is opened at a very small space and rest it is shielded. For it is genetic material, it needs to be stable. And then I was explaining them about RNA, why it needs to be so much unstable, because it needs to go away as early as possible. After that, I asked students, like, can you actually discuss with me the real difference between RNA at DNA at molecular level? Nobody was able to explain me these things. The question is not they don't know and they don't read. The question is they don't pay, they don't have that curiosity, think around those problems, which matter a lot. Hamare yahan pe, you never see any kind of, efforts from, our administrative or, our society playing active role in these things. For example, have you ever seen for example, this webinar is being organized by Government Degree College, Anantnag. Have you ever organized, kind of, a science mela with top class Indian scientists or international scientists? And have you ever really got funding for that? Because it is, what you see, you will have 50 or 70 colleges around, because you have to import that classical passing exam, having degree. It is all colonial thing. If we compare our education system with the rest of the world, I see it is like all that British roots in it. They just draw this education system because they wanted kind of clerical stuff or other kind of stuff for them to work for them. It is same way. Like, I don't see it different. Then from society point of view, if you see in our elementary education or higher education system, there are not a lot of debates going on how to foster this temperament, scientific temperament, critical thinking. Like, for example, somebody asked question like, how can we connect with the field and the science? Because you have not been discussing sciences everywhere. Like, if you know that whatever they are doing in the fields, it is like science. So we are not really interested in those stuff. See, I started, somebody was interesting to know what I have done. I did my PhD from New York University. I did my postdoc from New York University, then Icahn School of Medicine. And right now I am working on coronavirus. So I have been working on, immune escape mechanisms. But I started from the same system, but I don't credit at 0.1% this system for my research, for my science advancement and, career. Because I know it has not played a minuscule role. So college is at a lower level. Just go to university. You will see, even in university, things are worse than what are you doing in college. Like in college, it's at least teachers are, selfless. They are imposing their everything to, teach these students, like, scientific temperamentally. But in university, they don't even foster like most of the students I have seen complaining about, they have not been doing practicals. Even they don't know what practicals are doing to them in the classes, because most of the times we have those infrastructure gaps. Like for example, I have worked in 2-3 colleges. I want to do experiments practically, and I want to show things, what, how is it mattering to their scientific temperament, but I cannot do, because we don't have those much resources available at our hand to show these people how actually what they are reading, what they have been theoretically good, although it needs a bit of geniusness. But we have that infrastructure block. We cannot even go into them. Then we have all these things which actually hamper, or which actually stop us from doing this development of scientific temperament. In nutshell, what I want to say, that our education system needs to rest on a mechanism where uh, our students from early on try to understand that it is not passing exams, it is not getting grades that is important in the real advancement of scientific temperament. It is actually, they have to develop critical thinking, which a teacher is very important to play a role in it. Once they are doing that, right now compared to 10 or 15 years, we have a lot of scope to develop a career in science. For example, you have a lot of institutions, a lot of fellowships which are covered by Dr. Rakesh sir. And like there is a lot of promotion at national level, nationally and internationally as well, to take this science as a career. And there are a lot of fellowship schemes for minorities in general categories which you can take and get benefit from those categories. So
Thank
that's
you.
all I think.
Thank you, Dr. Muzaffar Jan. It was an excellent lecture, excellent talk, because you basically highlighted the main issues, basic issues which youngsters as well as teachers face. And it is our responsibility, both from the teachers as well as students, to come out of cocoon and think in a better way how they can contribute to our science and how they can develop this scientific temper. And you discussed that how our students are fed up with rote memory things, like we have to memorize question and then we have to answer it and then pass the exams. They have to come out of it because field is open for them. And now I will request my colleagues, participants, to raise questions, because you are online. So if anybody wants to raise a question, we have Gawhar Saab. Dr. Gawhar Saab.
Yes.
Just go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. I'm highly thankful to Ummer Saab that you have allowed me to interact with our Dr. Muzaffar Jan Saab. I would like to say to Muzaffar Jan Saab, it is a matter of fact that our colleges are totally different as compared to universities. That we are wholly and solely focused on academics rather than on scientific temperament. But it is not a fact that you say that in Kashmir we don't have scientists. It is not a fact. Recently, you have heard about we have one of the he was a very excellent, I would like to say, innovator. He is no more among us. That is late this Mahdeen Saab, GM Mahdeen Saab. He was an innovator. Not only innovator, he was a patented person and who always helped innovators to raise up. We have more scientists, we have more inspiring teachers in universities, even in colleges, that they can also guide and supervise. It's not necessary to go to USA, not necessary to go to abroad. You can you can remain an inspiring teachers in colleges and universities. So nowadays there is a concept of citizen science at grassroots level, and number of projects and number of things are given by Government of India for that. But I would like to say there is a need to have a privatization of our these what we call a research centers, because we have limited research centers in Kashmir. We have only CSIR, we have CSIR Jammu and CSIR Srinagar, and CSIR Srinagar is totally defunct. Each and everyone know nothing has come out from that. As compared to CSIR Jammu, they are doing excellent piece of work. They are giving drugs day by day. They are giving value addition to the products. So it is not a matter of fact that even in our colleges, like Ummer Saab is an inspiration to me. He is actually my neighbor also, but he is inspiration to me because I knew him from childhood. How much he has worked hard and how much he has helped and how much he has inspired students. So I know one of my teacher. He is means neighbor to me. When I was in higher secondary, we were having a science mela in our higher secondary. Then a number of students were benefited at national and even they got recognition at international level. So the need is that we are here as a Kashmiri and it is almost a conflict region. So remember this thing that we will not go such a way that it is not USA, it is not Israel. The people are doing excellent pieces, they are publishing in Nature, but at least we are also doing better. In Kashmir, we have very good teachers, we have very inspiring teachers at universities, at college levels, but need is that government policies are not as such. We are remaining focused only on academics rather than on scientific temperament. So please bear me out if you will not like this comment, but it is a matter of fact, we have to go with this. I was just working as a contractual lecturer just for 7 months. I have a number of students. They are making projects. They will at state and national and international level, they will go with those. Maybe they will get recognition. So we have to remain as an inspiration rather than
so your comments are your comments are really appreciated.
Yeah.
I think you have
I think I will
misunderstood.
just intervene. Basically, dialogue is very important. It's not the what is your viewpoint. There can be both ways.
Exactly.
So now I have no. Now you can Muzaffar Jan, Dr. Muzaffar, you can reply.
So his comments are totally valid. Whatever he said, we have a lot of people who are good, but it was a relative term I used compared to relative proportion of people we are teaching science and the relative number of people who are actually doing it. So let's take example of a general college. So if you have 100 students who are pursuing science, it is like possible that only around 10% are going to higher education in science. And out of that 10%, it is 1% who might be ending up with a good science career. So that is a complete failure of the system. So I completely agree. We have, I know a lot of people who are in Kashmir who are good scientists, and I have been working actively with some of them. But proportionately, we are lagging in it.
low.
So, Mr. Sunubar,
Yes,
do
sir.
you have any question?
Sir, my question is to Dr. Muzaffar, sir, that what is the role of the scientist that the Kashmir has to enhance the study of the students?
So if you see the scientists
because we are seeing that whenever somebody is becoming the scientist, then he forget his state or whatsoever we see. So that is
no. If there is one Facebook page, JK Scientists. There are a lot of Kashmiris right now who are pursuing career like Ummer Saab, Dr. Ummer might be knowing. Like it is promoting. There are a lot of Kashmiris who are working abroad and in national institutes. They are helping, it is a community coming together to help all those Kashmiris. And I remember there are more than 30 or 40 people from Kashmir who have been promoted for international studies. They are pursuing all studies in higher educations outside India. I think it is right now you should go to JK Scientists page and you can read the stories about those people who have been after graduation, you can just pose a question there. And a lot of scientists, wherever they are working from Kashmir, they will help you what career you can choose and how to choose it. And they can even give you recommendations. Like we have been writing recommendations because Kashmiri students have been asking for recommendations and we have been providing them. And they are, placing in Switzerland, Australia, US, UK, Europe, all of the, there are, I remember 30 or 40 students we have helped them to get international university.
Okay, sir, thank you.
So this is best we can do.
Yeah.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Sunobar, you can remain in touch with these, this Muzaffar, Dr. Muzaffar, because I know you have.
For sure.
Yeah, you have a motivation for science, so I know. So, Dr. Asif, Mr. Asif Ahmed Kamgar, you have raised a question, so you can ask. Yeah.
Yes, actually,
He's basically
in the chat.
Mr. Asif Ahmed Kamgar is assistant professor from Department of Zoology, same department where from I am. Okay, just Yeah, you have
Okay,
just.
my question to Dr. Muzaffar. Actually, Dr. Muzaffar mentioned that this education system has nothing to do with his achievements in the scientific world and other things. So I agree. Okay, this is the thing. But the thing is that we have some education system here. We know that it will take time to change it into a better system. But till then, we have the students here who aspire for the things like Dr. Muzaffar has achieved. So I want to ask Dr. Muzaffar, what is your suggestion for these students who want to achieve for the higher things, but they are still being part of the same system? So I would just like to know about that.
Valid point. Yeah.
So for that, like, those people who are scientifically motivated to pursue higher studies in science, I think right now information is the most accessible thing. And, people, I just gave one example, like there are a lot of Kashmir Association of Kashmiri scientists, who have been helping such people who are really interested, who have that scientific temperament. And those people, I believe, who have scientific temperament, who are scientifically strong, they are being helped by the scientific community all across from Kashmir. So I believe like information is the most accessible thing right now.
Thank you. Anybody
Yes, sir.
having a question he can raise? Otherwise, I will now wind it up. Okay. So on behalf of Government Degree
Hello, sir.
College and, oh yeah, just
Sir,
go ahead.
I have
Yeah,
sir, I
yeah,
have
yeah.
a question for Dr. Muzaffar, sir.
Yeah, sure. You go ahead.
Sir, my question is that, sir, sir has raised various queries regarding the education system. Sir, I agree with all of those. Sir, but my
Yeah.
question is that, sir, the queries are always raised. I mean, there are problems always, and we
Yeah,
always raise them. What
sure.
are the possible solutions? So, what are
Yeah.
the possible solutions for these problems? What are the setups we can come up with so that we can overcome these?
So he is asking possible solutions. So over to Dr. Muzaffar.
So one of the main obstacle to our development of scientific temperament, you all know what is scientific temperament. It is based on curiosity. If you are reading science and you are not curious to know things, you are not reading science. Then you said like, what is the possible uplifting of this? The reason we feel our education system is this way, because our elementary education system is not in a way to promote the scientific temperament. Like, let's take one example. You have a student who is in 11th, 12th. He is being channeled to read a lot of books, memorize stuff, so that he can crack NEET, or he can crack, this engineering exams. So he is being, made, to believe in this mental setup that he has to memorize things. Is it possible for you? You have read science. Is it possible to remember this much big book to understand it completely? It is just memory, right? So what I am trying to intervene here is that our elementary education system, if the teacher in a higher sector, although it is not a general rule, I am saying there are sporadic examples where I have seen good teachers who are promoting scientific temperament, but that is very rare and even negligible. So if in those classes, even below that in elementary school education, if you are promoting that scientific temperament, so, and with that curiosity, with time, what will happen that people who are having that, curiosity, they will be knowing how to approach science and how to approach those problems. So everything is science. You are talking about China, you are talking about Israel, they are scientific giants, and it takes nothing. It doesn't take engineering, it doesn't take those memory based things to advance the society. It needs all those scientific temperament, knowledge about science, which can lead you into discoveries, into innovations, into creativity. And we cannot start at BSc first year. You understand, like, we cannot start that at BSc first year. You have to channel yourself from that early. So somehow the policies of government, somehow, like, as I said, science melas make bigger scientists to interact with the school kids, like APJ Abdul Kalam Azad. You know how many people, how many young kids, like, I have been reading stories from those kids. They were inspired by the talks from APJ Abdul Kalam Azad. Have you ever brought any big scientist who has actually contributed, achieved into school education? Has your college, for example, government degree college, been to any school with, like, for example, good teachers into school and just telling them, you know, what is the importance of scientific temper? What is the importance of critical thinking? So these are, you know, roadblocks we have to, you know, overcome these things. And I think, like, you know, once we get more into science and, you know, the society advances in these things, I think, like, these roadblocks will be over. There should not be that much gap.
Thank you, Dr. Muzaffar. Yes, I agree with you, with the participant, is that we need to write our basics. And when we, you know, improve our fundamentals, then we can achieve somewhere. You know, every individual, as per psychology, has innovative mind, and even if a single idea is developed, it can develop into wonders. So with this, I thank all participants, invited speakers for their cooperation, and it was nice interaction. Although how much we have achieved from this interaction, but these dialogues should continue, because the aim of these webinars or interaction is to acquaint you, to aware you about the possible, you know, issues facing youngsters and how to overcome them. I think we should continue these dialogues. And I, again, on behalf of Government Degree College Anantnag and our worthy principal, Professor Manzoor Ahmad Loan, I thank you all for participating in today's webinar, and it was live discussion. You participated. I thank both invited speakers. They spent their precious time with us. I, you know, thank all participants who were with us. I thank them, and we will again, you know, invite you for another discussions in similar way. I thank you. Goodbye. Meet you next time. Thank you.